Hello gamers and welcome. We have a little bit of a VOD review going on today. I'm playing The Thing. I had a video that I wanted to make maybe last week, and I played this game last week, where I wanted to make a why I love video for The Thing. And only like extremely long time viewers of the channel will kind of recall that why I love was one of the first series that I wanted to make. That's actually, funnily enough, the reason I made this channel is because I wanted to make sort of that style of video. And why I love video, it kind of serves as the classic, YouTube explanation of a character. Yes, I mean, that's what it accomplishes. But I wanted to take it just a little bit further because I want to talk about the experience of playing a character as well. And Marvel Rivals made that easy because Marvel Rivals is a game that is focused on casual play. And so because Marvel Rivals is focused on casual play, it's just a little bit more kooky. Marvel Rivals is just a little bit weirder in how it operates. And because of that, we have all these characters who have all these strange things they can do, and balance fluctuates really quite wildly. There are a number of characters where the game is like totally cool with keeping them weak, right? And I think that to a certain degree, all multiplayer games have to engage in that. I mean, League of Legends comes to mind in the sense that there are some characters who just stay underwhelming for the majority of their lifetime in the game. But anyway, all that aside, none of that applies to The Thing. I think that The Thing is... he has had periods of time where he was rather weak. There have been times wherein picking The Thing was the equivalent of picking the Hulk, in that your odds of winning have just shot down through the basement. But The Thing brings a few interesting niche facets of his character to the table that really does a lot to further him contributing to the team, right? So The Thing has a little bit more nuance in his abilities than you might expect, especially lately, given that he sort of got a little bit of a rework not too long ago. The Thing has two important caveats to his abilities. So he has obvious stuff that he can do, and I've been reading a lot of this stuff, so this is why it's on the mind. I've been thinking of making a Why I Love The Thing video, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, you guys should go check out my, what is basically, secretly in disguise, the Why I Love White Fox video. It's not called that, but it's my most recent video, and all that it really is that I've come to realize that this whole idea of talking about why you enjoy a character, sort of getting that whole lazy purple style explaining a character video is extraordinarily common, and because it's common, there are high and low quality variants of the video. And so anyway, all of this is to say that if I just name these videos Why I Love, their traction is going to be horrible. That's not a very intriguing name. So I've instead made a playlist for that sort of style of content. Anyway, all this is to say I very well might be adding a Thing video into there sometime sooner or later. I have a Why I Love Strange, Why I Love Groot, Why I Love Psylocke have all been started, but I lost interest in the project really quite quickly, and so I'm a little bit hesitant to start a new one because I have some work already laid down for other characters, but that might not even matter because my opinions on the character have probably changed, because that's kind of the special thing about these Why I Love videos, is that I'm not just doing the sort of typical YouTube explanation videos. I also want to go just a little bit further and talk about the experience of playing these characters. And so that's ultimately what brought me to The Thing, because in terms of gameplay explanation, I mean, if you look in the bottom right, I have 3 abilities, and one of these abilities shares a charge system. So it's just a variant of the same ability. So you really have 2, right? They're just slightly different application. And so there's not a whole lot to explain about The Thing in terms of mechanics, how he operates, but how he feels to play is, in my opinion, worth talking about, because he's the punch character, right? And in hero shooters, there have been a great many efforts to make the punch character. I mean, Iron Fist and Doom Fist are the characters who immediately come to mind, possibly because they both have Fist in their name. But they're both, really strange in their own ways. And Doom Fist for different reasons than Iron Fist. I think Iron Fist is really strange because Marvel Rivals exists as a hero shooter that is more okay with its predecessors than having low time to kill. It's pretty easy to die in Marvel Rivals, and that makes it a little bit more difficult for new players, but we'll talk about that in the future. And so because of that, for Iron Fist to be the sort of bruiser that he is, he has to have this really weird, oblique set of abilities that he can operate with, because what Iron Fist wants to do is not easy to accomplish in a hero shooter. And then Doom Fist, likewise, he exists in that sort of I punch people as a way of dealing damage fantasy as well. So the thing exists as this sort of punch character, and that's a difficult thing to get going on in these games, because these games are so deeply rooted in this idea of like, okay, there are people who can shoot at short ranges, there are people who can shoot at long ranges. I mean, shooter is literally in the name of the genre. And so because of all this, it's a little bit difficult to operate with this sort of melee range, because it's not what the roster promised. It's not what the majority of the characters that have been designed for the game are equipped with to play, you know, either as or against. But the thing does it really quite effortlessly. And he has this lovely game design sort of strategy that I think Rivals has done a really good job of implementing for for sort of casual play, is this whole idea of, well, these characters have a number of abilities that all are things you might want to do if you're a puncher character, right? I mean, the thing has a charge, which is a sort of neutral ability. It can get you in or it can get you out. And then he has a dash that can be used on enemies or allies. And yes, they share a charge system, so you gotta be careful about that. But ultimately, the thing can move around as he needs to. And yet, all of these abilities sort of help him out, right? So when he moves around specifically to an ally or to an enemy, he gains percentage damage reduction, so he can stay on the front line for longer. When he does his neutral charge, where he can go in any direction he pleases, he gains bonus health, so that however he's getting shot, you know, he has another 200 HP of like time that he can afford to stay on the front line. And if you can only punch dudes, if you did not bring a gun to this fight, then punching dudes is really like sensitive to gap closing, and so you're really gonna want to be close. And then finally, he has, you know, the whatever it's called, Earth Shatter that he has. It's similar and different to a lot of tank ultimates for two reasons. I mean, one, obviously, you know, it's the big, if you're close to me, I'm going to get to hard CC, right? That's a classic idea in tanks. But for the thing in particular, it goes through shields. So the thing has this kind of interesting identity of he's like a specific pick. You play him reactively. There are teams that the thing is especially good into. And so because of this, he can have these punches that go through shields, and from a range too, right? His alternate fire punch has a little bit of reach on it, especially if you have the Hulk team up going on. And so he can exercise these tools pretty consistently, right? I mean, the thing isn't like, say, Iron Fist Punch, in the sense that he really does have to get right up on top of you to deal that damage. So he can go where he pleases. He gets health all the while, survivability all the while, I should say, right? He doesn't necessarily get health with his damage reduction that he has. And then he has a multitude of ways to get around the tanks that he's facing. And so he has all these abilities that are sort of bread and butter, what you might want to do as a punch character, but all of them are stylized for damage blocked and survivability so that you can stay on the front line. That is all. Perhaps we'll get to see, you know, a Thing video sometime in the future. Maybe I'll get around to making that. But ultimately, the Thing is this interesting, fascinating character, and I'm really glad that he exists in Marvel Rivals. Not only because I think he has some pleasant matchups that I just enjoy playing, but because it's impressive that NetEase can finally take up the mantle and make a character who really and truly plays as a hero shooter just to punch gamers. Thank you guys for your time. I'll see you in a later video. Catch you then. Bye. Later.